Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
Innovative Thinkers episode number 445, Innovative Thinkers. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black entrepreneur experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. Are you looking for a solution to prevent phone scams? Answer Sure LLC is a phone service designed to assist at preventing phone scams, and Gogie Padilla, the founder and CEO, is here to talk about the Answer Sure. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Frances.
I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you want them to know about your business and also about you?
Okay, I'll start with me. I am a entrepreneurial at heart. I had a business in New York City for 11 years, a fundraising and event planning firm. I only state that to emphasize that my bailiwick is other than security and cybersecurity, phone telecommunications. However, what brought me into this space is a very personal incident with my own mother back in 2019. She was almost a victim of a scam, which started on her landline phone and escalated to someone coming to her front door in the guise of her bank's representative. She was not hurt, thankfully, but it placed me on a path looking for a solution to keep her safe and to shore up that landline. I did not find anything, and I created Answer Sure to be that vehicle, that service that would prevent these scammers to ring her phone. So what Answer Sure does in a nutshell is keeps these criminals, that's what they are, from ringing your phone and putting you in danger. We're a call vetting process, very honestly, which the client has the autonomy to create the vehicles by which calls are vetted.
So someone is interested in learning more about Answer Sure. What is the best way to connect?
It would be on our website, which is www.answersure.com. Also, I have an email if people wanted to reach out that way. It's contact@answersure.com. And we have a phone. Yes, we have a phone. It's 732-702-0010.
What is something that we don't know about the phone scamming industry that we should know?
I would say the number one thing that we don't know that we should know is that there is no end in sight. This is trillions of dollars that these criminals are getting worldwide. America is one of the leading countries that is subject to this crime. There is no end in sight. And the best thing we can do is protect ourselves in any way that we can find.
And so you're able to protect from the landline and also your cell phone, because we get a lot of messages that'll say possibly scam. If I get something that says possibly scam, should I answer? What should I do?
Well, you should not answer, and that's the mechanism within cell phones today. However, many phones still ring. When they receive that message, the phone still rings, and many times people pick up the phone that rings. They're not even paying attention to the screen. So every time we pick up a call that we are not 100% sure the caller, who that caller is, we put ourselves at risk. Make it be landlines or cell phones. What Answer Sure does is that we do not allow the known phone numbers of robo, scam, and spam callers to ring your cell phone. There are millions of numbers that will not ring your cell phone. However, I have to state, Dr. Frances, numbers are infinite. And the way these calls are coming in, they are bouncing off of 2, 3, 4 different countries before they ring your phone and before the number looks like it's a neighbor's. or your own phone number. It's very, very intricate. So with the app, I can say that there will be a lessening of calls, period, that you receive on your cell phone, that rings your cell phone from these negligent calls and phone numbers. But I cannot state that you will never have a call ring your phone ever again. That I can't do.
Talk about developing this app. How did you start that process?
Well, it very honestly started with the landline because that was my immediate concern was protecting my mom. The app came after. It's just the evolution of a thought, I believe, evolution of a business. We all have cell phones, even if some people have landlines still. So it's an access point. And like any access point, I figured we should take that into consideration and try to add something to the mix for security. I'm not a developer, but I was very lucky and very blessed to have colleagues that actually knew people that were willing to listen and come on board and help me develop the app.
Speaking of development, how long did it take you to develop the app?
8 months. 8 months from idea to actually having a working app. We did a lot of R&D to find out what are some things, because there are apps out there like this. What were people saying about those apps? What were they looking for additionally in those apps? And making sure our app worked. So it was 8 months.
And how are things going?
So far, so good. Knock wood. Our clients they're definitely seeing a reduction. I have some clients that have told me the last 6 months they haven't received any. It's like I stated, I cannot say that it's catch-all because it's only the known phone numbers that we have, but there are millions of them that we have in that list. It's dynamic. It's ever growing. So numbers are added to it every second, I'm told.
Let's talk about raising capital. How did you raise the capital, Gogie, to bring this project to fruition?
I actually went into my own savings. I did this, again, the emphasis was to safeguard my mother. So it was how should I put it, time-pressed purpose. So I didn't create AnswerSure, particularly the landline portion, out of thinking I was going into a business. To be quite frank, I created our service to make sure that I could sleep at night, that my mom was safe. And at the time, I didn't find anything out there that did what we do. And there is still nothing out there that does what we do. I dipped into my own savings. I'm very fortunate. I have a partner, a husband that is very encouraging and also loves my family and loves my mother and very supportive. So when it came to the landline service, it definitely was out of my own pocket. When it came to the app, my husband helped a great deal in providing the financing for it.
And that's a blessing. And I know you said that your mom, which is a blessing, she didn't have any impact. How is she doing just overall? How's your mom doing?
Thank God she's doing 88, still very spry, living on her own. It's not changing. She says, at least not now, which is a step up for her. Not now. Thank God she is doing very, very well. Thank you. And the service is working. And she's very happy and doesn't get stressed when the phone rings. And so thank you.
Do you have a lot of people using landlines? I know we were just having this conversation about life, evolution, technology, innovation, and even thinking about a payphone, like where payphones back in the day was everywhere, they're nowhere. Talk about the evolution in terms of landlines and offering the services for landline versus the cell phone.
There are over 12 million landlines still in use in the United States. Many, if not the majority, are 65 and up individuals that still have them in use. I have to be honest, I still have a landline. I lived through 9/11, and it was the landline telephones were the only modes of communication that were working. Cell phones, you couldn't call out or receive a call on. So I will always have a landline. I know that sounds old-fashioned. I believe, yes, the reality is the landline is lessening. Cell phones definitely have the majority share of the telecommunications, but it's not gone yet. And the demographic that has the landline should have an option to secure their line. As for cell phones, 100%, hence the app. We do realize that the app is, cell phones are what's here and looks like what's the future. But I think everyone that has any mode of communication should have an option for keeping themselves safe. And that's landlines included.
And security is so important with a lot of hackers and cybersecurity and, our bank statements and all of that information. Speaking of security, what is 3 strategies you would offer? And you talk about that vulnerable population, seniors. What advice would you give them?
It's a great question. I thank you for asking it. First one is to pause before they answer the phone. Don't answer it, let it ring. Pause, take a moment to take a deep breath. I know it sounds silly, but it has been proven that a deep breath or two helps to center you from all distractions so that you can pick up the phone with as clear a mind as possible, if you even choose to pick up the phone. Number 2, do not give out any information. I know that is said all the time, but do not. Number 3, you can say no and hang up the phone. You can simply say no and hang it up. I believe, and I don't want to digress too much, but I believe it's a generational thing that I believe in manners and it's very important. But the older generation definitely feels they're being rude or not accommodating, thinking that they can say no and hang it up, hang up the phone. If I may add one other thing, when you get a call and there's a grandparent scam that's going around, I would suggest that seniors and their family create a code word or a code phrase that they give out to their family members and they share with their loved ones. If there's ever a call, that phrase should be used. If it's an emergency, that phrase should be used. And if it's not used, hang up. You know it's not your family member. I say that quite a bit. I do speaking engagements at some senior communities, and that is one thing that puts a light bulb in many, many of the attendees. If that word or phrase is not said, it's not your family member.
Great information. If someone calls your number and they have information about you, for example, they want you to refinance, and they say you live at 1234 ABC Drive, how should you respond?
I would suggest you say, send me some information in the mail. If you want the information, and doctor, I preface that because if you're interested in refinancing, that's one thing. If you're not, you say, not interested, click. Now, if they had AnswerSure, they wouldn't get that call. However, those are the 2 options I would say. I would never have an in-depth conversation on the telephone. Send me information if they're interested.
Send you information. Gogie, there are so many brands and businesses that are dominating. Talk about a brand or a business that's dominating that you admire and why.
Well, I mean, people say it all the time. I admire. I think that I wouldn't say admire, but I think that their fluidity of, again, evolution is quite remarkable, is Amazon. I think they're huge, and I know that. However, they weren't always. And they are kind of becoming an octopus of sorts. I wouldn't say admire, but I do definitely see what they are doing as unique and quite remarkable in how they're moving to various realms in our society now, I believe even to medical. That's one that I would say.
I want you to have a monologue. I want you to name this person, living or not. This person has inspired you so much. Who is that person and what are you saying to them?
Oh, doctor. I would say it's my grandfather. I know that that may come surprising. It's my grandfather. His last name was also Richards, Martin Richards. And he, just a tremendous man. What I would say to him is thank you. Thank you for allowing me to see the world. Took us traveling, my siblings and I, from a very young age, which opened my mind to possibilities and made it, there was nothing I couldn't do. And there is nothing I can't do because he instilled that sense of curiosity. So I would thank him. I would say, I hope I'm doing a good job. I hope that you're proud of me. I would ask him to continue to lead me. I hope that I am also imparting what he gave to me to my children and now my grandson. Thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you. And speaking of thank you, I want you to have what I call a thank fest, an attitude of gratitude. I want you to thank people and situations that has helped your journey. Have at it.
I'd like to thank my mom. Again, strong, spry woman. All of who I am is seeing her example. You do what you know. And she was an incredible and is an incredible example of positivity, of endurance, of strength, of femininity. They can coexist. My husband, never ever I come up with an idea, I come up with a thought, and he's a risk manager. So he knows about risk. He knows about chances. He knows about how to mitigate that. Has always stood behind me. And just, you want it, go for it. Now's the time. Do it. My children, I see, and they have taught me, particularly my daughter, how to love myself as I am. As I am. They've given me a lot of courage. And it's something I didn't think I possessed, but I now know I've always possessed it. I just didn't think it was courage. I thought it was just doing what you had to do when you had to do it. That's courage. My grandmother, and I know it's a lot of family, but that's who I am. That's my soil. And my grandmother, who was a very strong woman, tiny little thing, 5'1" on a good day, but was mighty and really instilled in us a sense of self-respect and strength and gratitude. You use a very important word, gratitude. And knowing when you step out into the world, it's not just you're stepping out with. You have a history behind you. You have a family behind you. Those are the people that I am thankful for. That I'm not on their shoulders. They're carrying me. They're carrying me. So yeah, those are my few.
Talk about mental wellness and entrepreneurship.
Well, it's could write a book about it because you definitely need it. You have to take care of yourself first. I know that's said. It's not a cliche, it's a fact. Our body and our minds, I believe our minds affect our bodies, are intricately entwined. What I do for mental health, I go for walks. I try to go in nature. I love the beach. I read. Silly as it may sound, I look at comedy sometimes, laughter, just get out a good laugh, a belly chuckle. I pray. I believe in that. Those are things I do. What I can say for sure is without having a level of self-care, I could not have the ability to create, because I believe creation of anything comes from within. So you have to take care of yourself in order to even think of the ideas that you want to put out into the world for them to come into fruition. So it's incredibly important. You cannot have one without the other. That's my opinion.
Gogie, we're going to step back. You talked about being an entrepreneur at heart. Talk about starting your first business and what was it and why?
I started my first business in 1999, and it was a fundraising event planning firm. My background, as I said, was fundraising. I did nonprofit political fundraising before that, and I enjoyed it, and I'm good at it. I was good at it. I think it's a skill, it's a muscle. I haven't done it for a little while, but I very good at it. And an associate that I worked with that has become a very, very dear friend, almost a family member, we decided to launch and take this leap. And we started a company called Lincoln 21st Associates. And we were around for 10 years in Midtown Manhattan until, unfortunately, the rents got a little too high. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a great deal. I think I've learned a lot through that experience that I use today.
I'm hearing about pivot, innovation, and reimagining yourself. You have had quite a bit of experience in terms of making the shift, the pivot, reinventing yourself. Give us some advice about that.
I believe that all of our experiences have value. And when you are interested in making a pivot, for myself, I've used my past experiences to see where they can add value to where I want to go next. Pivoting is not for everyone. There's a lot of unknowns in it. Sometimes lack of security, lack of definites. However, if a person is interested in making a change, going in a different direction, start from where you are. Look at what you've done. See how your experiences can be utilized in your next move. And then have the courage to go for it. Educate yourself, of course. But it does take courage to step out of the norm and say, I'm going to give this a try. And if you decide it's the way to go, jump.
What's next for Answer Sure?
Well, we want to grow. We want to continue to grow. We're a national service. So we want to continue to grow. And hopefully, I'm looking at I do the 5 and 10-year plan. 5 years, I'd like us to be a known entity, as known as Amazon. And I want us to continue doing good work, protecting people. 10 years, Dr. Francis, I'd like it to be international. This is not an American crime. This is an international crime. So yeah, I would like those two things. And we're going to evolve as technology evolves. Answer Sure will evolve as well. Very fortunate, like I said, to have some really smart people in that whole technological realm that could be very, very helpful with that. Those are the places I hope to be.
Talk about your top 2 influencers or mentors and what lessons do they teach you?
I have to go back to my mom is one. Just her determination, steadfastness, personal strength. My mom doesn't take no for an answer. It's a not now for her. I've grown to be that kind of person, and I think that's what helped me in my career in fundraising, to tell you the truth. I don't burn bridges. However, I'll come back to you. With a name like Gogie, people knew who I was, and they still took my call, Dr. Francis, so that says something. My second person as a mentor, this is not planned, but Lisa Askeles has become a mentor. Lisa is incredible. She has been very generous with insights and wisdom and direction. Yeah, I'm just very, very thankful that our paths have crossed. Yeah, those are two of the human beings that I am very thankful. They're mentors for me.
Yes, Lisa is phenomenal. And she was a guest, and I would recommend those that have not checked out her episode to definitely check it out. She was a guest on Black Entrepreneur Experience. Advice you wish you had followed.
To start where you are. And I know that is like the ABCs. But I was looking when I started as a business, when I started Enter Short as a business in 2021, I was thinking, this, of course, people want to hear about this on a larger scale. Of course, phone scams. 2021 it was still very prevalent, and it's even more prevalent now. Of course, they want to hear about it. So I was sending information to all sorts of news outlets and stations and putting a lot of time, effort, and money, to be frank, in that direction. Whereas I would say about 9 months into that, I learned start where you are, start local. And in making that shift, it has helped us grow. So that, yes, that's a piece of advice I wish I'd taken early.
And for our listeners, it's episode 365, Lisa Oscalis, her episode. So it's B podcast, episode 365. What is the best advice you were ever given?
To not give up. To not give up. If you believe in something, keep moving forward. You know, my family is Panamanian by way of the Caribbean. And they believe when it gets hard, when things get difficult, that's just the negative forces trying to distract you from the positive path you're on. So I have, hearing from people never give up resonates with me. So yes, never give up.
If you lost everything and you had to rebuild Gogie in 30 days, what industry and why?
I would still stay within let me start with demographic, if I may. The senior, the elder demographic. Why? In this country and on this planet, the number of people turning 65 every day is astronomical. In the United States, every day, 10,000 people turn 65. It is an industry that is a demographic that is growing, and within that demographic, there are going to be needs, and there are needs, and there'll be needs to be developed. I also, very honestly, would stay within the realm of safety against a phone scam, cyber scam in some way in that arena. Because as the demographic grows, so does the need. And I would stay within the security realm.
What is the biggest takeaway from our conversation today? What do you want the audience to leave with?
I'd like them to leave with knowing that the crime of phone scams is real. It is affecting millions of lives. We're all vulnerable. Despite age, we are all vulnerable. And that there are things that we can do to protect ourselves and our loved ones. We are not, our hands aren't tied. And you don't have to be a victim to be proactive in protection. I find that many people don't think of phone scams until they have become a victim or someone close to them. I say take a preventative, more active role in our own safety.
What is your zone of genius?
I'm a very intuitive person. I was just thinking about this about myself the other day. I am a good listener. Meeting someone, speaking with them, hearing them. But I can't explain it, but I do have an intuitive sense when I meet people of, for lack of a better term, what to say, what buttons to push, what buttons not to push to stay away from. I believe that is a zone that I naturally have come to learn about myself. And it's done well for me.
What problem exists in the world today that you would like to solve?
Phone scams. That's number one. I would. Also, if I may, and I know this is something that has been really raised up, but the issue of child trafficking, it's horrific. I wish there was, if I had the power, we all have it some degree, that I would want to help stop that as well.
Give, get. What do you want to give and what do you want to get?
I want to give a level of safety. I want to give something that's impactful for people, that has value for people. What do I want to get? I want to get the loyalty of my clients. I want my clients to say what she said she could do, she did, and she does.
Speaking of clients, and I know you probably have many stories, tell us a story or a testimony from one of your clients that has really just put a smile on your face.
I have a client, a gentleman, that his partner reached out to me because he was getting calls about changing his Medicare. And he was doing it so often that, very honestly, she was exhausted. And I worked with her, got things set up as they needed. And she reached out to me a couple of weeks later and she said, I can sleep. She didn't realize how exhausting it was to have the idea of him changing his medical until she didn't have to worry about it anymore. She said, I can actually sleep. And she was very, very thankful. And I have to say, I'm also a person that I check in with my clients as well. She was very appreciative of me just touching base along the way to see how things were going. So I'm very happy to say they're still clients, and it's the service is still working for her.
And thank you for sharing that. And that is huge when you're talking about a lot of times, especially with inflation and things happening, and just that changing of the Medicare in the middle of the stream, and they're doing it for a sale. You think that they're helping you, but it can send a ripple effect when you're dealing with that information. And so that is huge to stop those calls, and you're constantly getting them.
Yes.
Gogie, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
These are some of the best questions I've ever heard, Doctor. What made you think at 50 something it was time to make such a change in your career, in your life? Well, I saw a need. And again, the impetus was safeguarding my mother. So it was more emotion than intellectual in the switch that I made and the pivot that I made. However, at some point, it became intellectual when I went into a business. It was time. I don't believe we have an expiration date when it comes to ideas and creativity. I believe that I could do it. And I have a tribe behind me that also believed and encouraged me. And so I took the leap.
We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Rapid Round of Fun. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, I want you to say pass. Are you ready for the Rapid Round of Fun?
Ready, Doctor.
The last movie you saw?
It was the second Wakanda movie.
You relaxed doing what?
Walking in nature.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Diana Ross and Nina Simone. I have two.
Your favorite dance song?
Yeah, I'll say it. Love will find a way. Lionel Richie.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Rice. Rice.
Your favorite month?
January. It's the month I was born.
Gogie, Padilla, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, share with our audience the best way that they can connect with you and do business with you. Feel free to leave all your social media handles, and we thank you so much.
You can connect with us. Our contact email is contact@answershore.com. By phone, 732-702-0010. And our website is www.answershore.com. We may also be found on Facebook as AnswerShore LLC, LinkedIn as the same, Instagram, and on Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you, Gogie. That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.